there is something else that we need to do. In addition to finalizing your question and the data that you still need to collect, which we need you to do that right away, the second thing that we need to do is we need to figure out who our audience is that we're going to be writing for. Are you writing for teachers? Are you writing to policymakers? You're writing to other researchers? Who is it you're writing for? And what that means is you need to decide which journal, because there are certain journals and magazines that teachers read and certain journals and magazines that your promotion committee wants you to publish in, and certain ones that you do as an education researcher. But remember, your requirement is for you to finish your, before you can graduate, you have to have a referee paper done. And so this is your chance to do that. But there are a number of questions that you have to ask of a journal before you can, before you know if it's the right journal or not. So, and I've put on my brainstorm list of questions here. And what I would like us to do, what I'd hope we were going to do, is spend almost a day on this and go through 5 or 6 or 7 journals and see what these things look like. But I think what's better for us to do is to take one journal and to take a careful look at this particular thing. So I'm going to change screens here. And, well, no, I'm not going to change. Let's talk about these questions here. So first question you have to find out is, well, what's the focus of the journal? Some journals are about technology. Some are about engineering. Some about teacher education. Some are about student learning. And you know, you don't want to send a journal, an article about student learning if it's to a journal about teacher education. It's a mistake I make periodically as well. So it's something that just happens. So you got to know what the focus of the journal is, particularly if it's not one you read frequently. Then you also need to know if it's a U.S. journal or if it's a journal for Bulgaria or if it's an international journal. There are a lot of journals that are called international journals that only publish about one country, and there are some journals that don't say international in the title, but they really want to see multiple country comparisons. So that should be listed in that journal information as well, and we'll go look at some here in just a second. Also, you need to find out where the authors are coming from. So as you look at the table of contents for the last version, were all the authors from Korea? If they were, that's one kind of journal. If all the authors from America, that's a different kind of journal. But probably the most important thing you need to know is how long are these articles supposed to be? Some journals say 3,000 words max, period, or 2,500 words plus a picture. So you can get how long. Some are, if you're expected to be, the journal expects 50 pages double spaced. Some expect 5,000 words or have a hard limit of 7,000 words or 2,500 words. Those are all important things. Sometimes they tell you how many journal pages printed it is, and sometimes they tell you how many pages of manuscript they want. Also, you need to know something about the abstract. Some places, they just want a 150-word abstract, and that's good. Other places want a 4-page abstract. Some places tell you exactly what the abstract is supposed to be. It's 10 sentences, 2 sentences on this, 2 sentences on this, and 2 sentences on this. Andrea and I had one of those we were working on this past year, where they very carefully prescribe what the abstract is supposed to be. But also, you need to know something about the cost of the journal. Some journals are funded by the subscriptions that the libraries have. Otherwise, they're free. Some journals otherwise are funded by members, so you have to be a member to be able to submit, a member of that organization or that society to submit to their journal. And sometimes they just have page charges. In astronomy, in physics, all journals have page charges. Those page charges are anywhere from $250 to $1,000 a page. It's printed, depending on its color and exactly what journal it is. Other journals have a flat fee that says for us to review your manuscript, it's $150 to do that. Some are completely free. So you need to figure out which ones you're looking for. Now there's a perception sometimes that journals that you have to pay for are less prestigious than journals that are free. And that's just absolutely silly. There are just certain fields in certain countries where journals just cost money. They have to be paid for by somehow. But you need to know what that is. Is there money around in the department to pay, in your department or my department, to help pay for those journal page charges? Sometimes there is. Often there is. Depends on the nature of exactly what the journal is and what the department or college policy is for that sort of stuff. Sometimes we can help you with those sorts of things. But sometimes down the road, they're just going to have to come out of your pocket because Maybe you need to get publications done. You don't have someone else you're working with that has resources, and it's just out of pocket. Much like going to a professional conference. Sometimes your school pays for your registration fees, and sometimes they don't. That's the way these things are. Now, the other thing you need to know is something about how long it takes. Some journals will turn your article around in 30 days and give you feedback and say, yes, we'll accept it, or no, we won't accept it, or we'll consider it again if you make these changes. Some take 18 months to get your comments back. There's no real relationship to the prestige of the journal and how long it takes to turn around, but often they'll tell you in the manuscript submission guidelines how long it is, and you need to know. For some of you, if you're getting ready to go up for promotion, you need to turn around very, very quickly. Some of you, if it's a slow turnaround, it doesn't bother you at all, but you need to know. And then, once it's accepted, how long do you have to wait for it to show up in print? Used to be sometimes you had to wait another 18 months for it to show up in the journal. Nowadays, with the advent of computer delivery, often what happens is they show up very, very quickly within 6 weeks' time online, but then they don't show up into a printed version until later. And then you just have to make an assessment of, I'm looking at this particular journal, is this a good match for the kind of thing that I'm doing? So let's look at one of these and see what it looks like. So I'm going to just pull up a web page here, and I'm going to, let's go Google, and just see what we can find here. Let's start with, how about School Science and Mathematics? Let's see here, School Science and Mathematics. Pretty common journal. It's created by the School Science and Mathematics Association. It's a long-standing journal. They are in their 113th volume, because it was started in 1900. So it's been around for a long time. So I just went to the website for this society, or for that journal, and I'm going to click over here on Publications. I think it'll carry along with you. And then very quickly, we see here there is, let's see here. There's the journal over here, the SSMA journal. And so I'm going to click on the, we'll look at here. So this journal is an international journal. It's published monthly, October through May, so during the school year. It emphasizes research, so policy papers wouldn't work here, or theoretical papers wouldn't here, on issues, concerns, and lessons within the discipline, within and between the disciplines in science and mathematics in the classroom. I happen to know that they focus on K-12. We'll talk about college once in a while, but it's mostly K-12. All right, so I'm going to click on the journal website here, and let's see here. How do I do that so that it shows up where you guys are? I want to copy shortcut, paste it in here. All right, so if you can't see what I'm doing, what I'm talking about, please holler, because I'm not terribly familiar with this particular piece of technology. All right, so here's the website for the journal. There's recent articles. And so let's just look real quick here at the most recent issue, current issue. And it'll give us the titles. It does not tell us who the author's institutions are, but let's look and see how international it is. These look like names. There are not a lot of Asian names in here. There are some. I would say this probably has this journal has a nice mix, but probably mostly U.S. Folks. But just click one just to see here. I'm going to click on Abstract. There's author information. These folks from Florida State. So there was an example. Let's pick another one here. Julie left, is it Georgia? Let's pick someone I don't know. Let's look at this one here. Author information. Southern Illinois University Carbondale, and National TIE. I'd say this has probably got a lot of American authors in it, just what I would guess at this point here. All right, so I'm looking for submission guidelines, where to find how to publish. And if we look on the left-hand side, I'll see for contributors. Let's see here. I see author guidelines. Let's see what it says under author guidelines here. All right, manuscript topics. Science math connections, articles that deal with attitudes, assessment, beliefs, curriculum, equity. Okay, that's pretty wide. How do you submit? Scholar One website. So this is a website you go to, and you put in your name and information, and you upload your manuscript there. The lead author, oh, this is important here, the lead author must be a member of the SSMA to submit an article and must remain a member in good standing at the time of publication of the paper. Membership information can be found here, so it probably costs $65. So one person on your team, the first author, has to be a member. It's a way of, instead of collecting fees for doing reviewing, they collect membership. That's pretty common. Let's see here. I'm scrolling down a little bit. Manuscript preparation. All manuscripts must use the 6th edition of the publication manual of the American Psychological Association. That's APA style. Part of your reading was to look at APA guidelines. Let's see. Submissions that are not APA style or exceed the length or lacking the following components will be sent back without review. So if you don't follow APA or if it's too long, I just won't even look at it. So you got 200 words for your abstract. That's reasonable sized abstract. Double-spaced manuscript, 1-inch margins. Make sure you go to 25 pages, not including pictures, tables, appendices. But there can be no more than 5 pages of tables and figures. So you can imagine for some studies that means that's right there is a non-starter. To maintain anonymity, do not include cover page with author information. So this is called a blind review. In other words, what you'll do is you'll write your paper, put your name on the top, the whole bit, and then you'll save that save your document when it's all done, save it, and then save it as a new name, and call this one the same title before, but call it blind. And you'll go through, and any place your name shows up, or some place where they might figure out who it is, you replace your name with the word author. Oh, there you go. It tells you how to do it. In text, author found. Graphics should be black type on white background. Don't use color. Follow the APA guidelines. No smaller than 8-point fonts. And if you do it, they will just not even review it. Okay. Let's look at scrolling on down here. I'm looking at review procedures. So, first of all, manuscripts should not have been previously published or under consideration elsewhere. What that means is you can't write your article and you can't submit it to 3 different journals. You can only submit it to one at a time. And you have to put a cover letter on that says, I haven't submitted it anywhere else. This is different than magazines, right? So if you write a really cool article about astronomy teaching, you could submit it to Sky and Telescope, and you could submit it to Astronomy, and you could submit it to the New Yorker, all simultaneously. And the first people to say yes win that article. And then they pay you, 7 cents a word or something for it. Scholarly publications are not like that. If you've had it published elsewhere, or if you have submitted it to another journal and you haven't heard back from them yet, you can't submit it to a second journal. So that's what that means. Blind review means you don't put your name on it. And the reason that you don't put your name on it is because reviewers might be influenced to accept your article just because you might be famous, or because you might have an American name, or because you might have a female name. Any of those reasons can impact. There's a really interesting study done in medical journals where what they did is they sent a bunch of papers out for review, but they changed the names of the institutions. In one series of articles, they put it at Harvard University or Yale University, and then they took the same articles and sent those out for different people to review, and they put it at the University of Northern Siberia, Carbondale, sort of things. And what they found was institution had a tremendous impact on whether or not the papers were accepted. So it's very common now for institutions or journals to ask for blind review where you don't say where your institution is or who your name is. The reality, of course, is that if you're writing about spatial reasoning in astronomy education, or you get a paper review on spatial reasoning in astronomy education, you can probably guess that article is written by Stephanie Slater, because there's just not that many people that write about that stuff. Or if you're looking at a paper about remote control telescopes, you can probably guess it had something to do with what Mark Reiser was doing and Katie Berryhill was doing, and just guess. Right? That often happens. Okay, how many external reviewers are there? There's 3. In astronomy, you typically only have 1 reviewer. And the reason you only have 1 reviewer is because to do an astronomy project, you've already had to go through tremendous review to get grant dollars and to get telescope time. So the likelihood that your paper is unacceptable can be judged pretty quickly. Not true in education. In education, anybody can do a research project without getting review past IRB. In fact, very few of you had financial support to do your study. You didn't pay your participants. You didn't go out and get a big NSF grant to do it. So what that means is you haven't been pre-screened. Your paper can come out of the blue. So what you find is that education journals tend to have more reviewers, 3 to 5 reviewers sometimes. What that means is also the review time now takes longer. A number of in-house reviewers, 1. Time to review, 6 to 7 months. And acceptance rate, 20%. And sometimes the journal will say, why did it reject your paper? Sometimes they'll give you the comments from the reviewers. Sometimes they just say, no thanks, and you get no comments. So in this case, the reviewer comments are returned to the author. All right, what else does it say here? Editor will use 5 categories to notify the author. Okay, accept and fix a few things, accept and fix some big things, reject it, but we want you to fix a bunch of stuff, and if you send it, we'll reconsider it, or just no thanks. But even though they took 6 to 7 months to review it, you've only got 30 days to fix it. If it falls out of those 30 days, you may have to go all the way back through the 6 or 7 month review process. So if you get a paper accepted, but you need to make some changes, it's got to become high priority in your life. You skip sleep to get that fixed. And yes, Andrea, I owe you some changes there. All right. The manuscript will first be evaluated to see if it fits APA, and then we'll reject manuscripts that do not adhere to them. And then there's review criteria listed below. This is pretty complete in terms of the kinds of stuff that they tell you. Some journals will tell you more. Some journals will tell you a bunch of pedantic stuff. Some journals will tell you anything at all. So, and you're on your syllabus, there's a long list of journals. It's not complete by any means. For example, physics teachers not on there, physics educators not on there, American Astronomy Education Review is not on there. But you should look at 3 or 4 or 5 journal possibilities and decide who you're writing for, so you know how to format your references, how long you can go. 25 pages double spaced in 5 figures is not very much. I guess that's probably 3,500 words maximum. So that's not very long. But you're looking at a really long review process, and you have to join the organization. So all journals have rules. They're all different. And you just have to kind of look and see what they are.